Welcome to Creating Abundance with Alana Cahoon, sharing inspirational stories from experts around the world. Tap into your inner wisdom at alanacahoon.com. Welcome to Creating Abundance. I'm Alana Cahoon, and I am delighted to welcome today's guest, Donna Maltz, known as Mama Donna, a voice for nature. Donna is a certified health coach and professional chef and baker since 1982. She's the founder of Soil to Soul Solutions, helping eco-entrepreneurs thrive. Nature, ethics, and regenerative SOULutions are at the forefront of her career and life decisions. Donna is a best-selling author, professional holistic chef, health coach, and nature photographer. She's also a TEDx speaker and host of a weekly live show called A Dose of Positivity, where she interviews changemakers, thought leaders, and health professionals who put social and environmental justice at the forefront of their endeavors. Let's welcome Donna Maltz. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, welcome to you in my world and just sharing all of your abundance with me and everyone. I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you for the introduction. It's so great that you're doing this show. I really appreciate it. I'm sure your listeners. And I want to start off because it can be really intimidating when you read somebody's bio and like people are going, oh, it's this person does all these things, right? And I know our topic for today is living, eating, and working like the future matters. And you and I have so much in common in our work that we do. And I guess what I want to say to start is a friend of mine just sent me this totally crazy thing, and believe it or not, on Facebook, I got to read this to you for a real quick moment.
Let's hear it.
It says, a study found that most productive ages in human life in the U.S. is 60 to 70 years old. I'm 66. Next month,
Awesome.
67. The second is from 70 to 80 years old.
Wait, and the most productive?
Is 60 to 70, and the second is 70 to 80 years old. The third is from 50 to 60.
Productive doing what?
Well, it just like in general, right? Because like the average age of a Nobel Peace Prize winner is 62. Of CEOs of prominent companies is 63. Pastors of the 100 largest churches in the U.S. are 71. Or the Pope, who's 76, right? So I could go on and on with reading these things. So the reason why I wanted to start off mentioning that, because I think it's really important where it goes with our interview, Living Like the Future Matters, is like I know there's a lot of like young people who they don't know where they're going and what they're doing, and so they come, hence the name Mama Donna. And I've helped thousands of young adults break either the corporate world or their shackles of doubt and find what they love to do, who they are, and what their purposeful why is. But I also realized that, as we get older, you're younger than I am. I'm in the 60, 70. I'm in that like number one place. But I'm right now I'm focused on nature photography and photography, although I am a professional chef and I do culinary class. You don't have to do all those things at one time. Like I'm even intimidated by my own bio. So, it's just breaking it down to that where you and I always talk about is like finding that balance, that equilibrium, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. Thank you for bringing that to the conversation. And when I hear our most productive years are in the elder years, with the 60s, the 70s, our older years, let's put it that way, I would like to think it's because we've accumulated so much wisdom and expertise and experience and knowledge that being more productive doesn't require the depth of research, perhaps, that we have a lot more at our fingertips, right? Thinking of the preacher or the priest or minister, whatever, that spiritual leader has been leading for years, for decades, etc. But let's get back to you. So we met last year So that was 2023. And I learned all about Donna Mama, which
Mama
I just,
Donna.
Mama Donna, Mama Donna. Okay, oops. Donna Mama, Mama Donna.
Oh, I like it. We could do a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you have written how many books now?
Well, I have 5 published books right now.
Okay.
And one is a kids' coloring activity book, one's a journal. So, and then I have a book on fermentation. I'm finalizing a book on sourdough and sourdough starter, my chef stuff. But
Right.
my claim to fame is the book you have actually there in your hand, Living Like the Future
Okay.
Matters.
So I just have to put this up here
Yeah.
because I read this about 6 months ago and I loved it. And I read every page. Like look
Yeah.
at, I even have something earmarked in there. I loved this book so much, and it's about your story. And what's so fascinating about your story is, first of all, I love the image too. This is you in Hawaii. You live in Hawaii now, right?
My hair, yeah.
my hairdresser keeps cutting my hair. I'm like, what are you doing? Give me my hair back. That's my power, man. But yeah, so it's like, it's just, it's filled with these beautiful, it's like a memoir, right? It's
Yeah.
your story. Uh and it's a journey that I felt like I was there with you, like I was your girlfriend. And I've never said this about a biography. I could not put it down. What I found interesting was you had a really great family, very supportive, and you were college bound. And then didn't you just decide to say, no, I'm a free spirit? And you took off and you made bread as you're living, and you lived in the dirt and the forest and the woods, it's just like, from instead of from rags to riches, from riches to rags, you just kind of said, no, I'm rebelling and I'm going to go out there and do it my way. So tell me how you,
Yeah.
what your story is from you.
Well, here's something. I'm going to backtrack a second about the
Okay.
hair, and it's something you'll find in if you do decide to read the book. Everybody out there is listening, but I'm not cutting my hair until there's world peace and hunger's been eradicated. And the story of how I came up with that is it's actually in the book. But a lot of people I've mentored have long hair now. And it's sort of like you can make a difference with one simple thing. Some people do it with a tattoo or dreads or whatever. But if you're just doing it for an image and a facade, it's not the same. And that's the difference between living like the future matters and living a lie or someone else's life, like the future doesn't matter. So, I mean, saying you're going to do something, right, for a reason. So, I also want to say that I went from not so much riches, but upper middle class Jewish American princess to the soil, not the dirt. Soil is alive and dirt is dead soil. So that is a different mindset of how we learn to live like the future matters. We really have devalued the most precious resource in the planet that feeds us all, that provides oxygen, that sequesters carbon, and that is not dirt, that is soil. So I became very enamored by nature when I was 16 and I went to Europe and saw a whole different way of living. And remember, I'm going to be 67, so that's quite a while ago. I don't want to do the math. It's back there, But I mean, seriously changed my way of looking at the world. And I think if you look at the subtitle of my book, it's called The Evolution of a Soil to Soul Entrepreneur. And it is a memoir of sorts. I wrote the book really with the intention of not so much telling my story as getting you, the reader, to look at your life and your journey and to identify, or am I living like the future matters? Because just because my story matters to me, it might be a totally different story than someone living in Harlem or someone living in a penthouse in Manhattan. I'm just saying, the difference. In the same city, and there's different things you can do. The person living in the penthouse could be supplying, low-income housing, beautiful facilities, and a food bank area in their area, and someone who's living in Harlem could be receiving that and then spreading that word and that love. It doesn't have, we don't all have to write books and have all these different huge careers. I mean, it's those things that we do mindfully, like you always talk about, right, Elena? Where every moment, every second matters. And I want to make this point really, really clear back to everything. We're coming back to soil and the Pachamama and the Mother Earth. To me, what encapsulates living like the future matters more than anything is the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to our true nature. Because nature was, I never went to business school. I've made millions of different dollars exchanged over my career. I never went to culinary classes or, and I became a professional baker and chef. I'm dyslexic and I learned how to write books. I'm a nature photographer and I use my phone and I sell thousands of dollars worth of artwork, and I donate all my proceeds now to for my books and my art to social and environmental causes, because I did really well when I was very, very smart. Like, I followed the laws of nature to become financially abundant. Nature knows how to balance everything, and when your bank account is not balanced, what happens, right? You suffer, it's a loss. It's you lose. Well, same thing that happens in nature. And when you go out and you look at a healthy ecosystem and you compare that to your bank account, you have things, it's diversity. It's that diversity that we are, and that's what my book, Living Like the Future Matters, talks about too. Being addicted to the unattainable, unsustainable American dream creates personal addiction and takes us out of that mindful, conscious place where we're all working to get back into balance.
Yeah.
And so I just finishing my thought on that, it's so important for us all to find our own way without disregard for all sentient human beings. The ants, the cockroaches, the rats, they all play a role and responsibility. And what we have a responsibility for why the earth works. I mean, we need mosquitoes for the spiders to eat, right?
Right.
So, and you could say, well, what's a rodent good for? Well, a rodent is food for other animals, the owls and the other beautiful birds, and you just can go down the ecosystem, but we're not going to do that right now. But what I'm trying to make a point home, when the only way we can really live on this planet in harmony is when we're in balance with nature, and when we're in balance, we have diversity, we have biodiversity. And when we want to have a balanced bank account and we want to have a balanced life or living and lifestyle, we having revenue coming in from all these different places, not relying on one monocrop. We have become a monocrop society. We have become a specialized society where we're always going. I thought I needed a hip replacement. I went to this hip doctor. He wouldn't talk about any other part of my body except the ball and socket, because that's all he knows. He knows nothing else. It's not like orthopedic doctors in the past who they would look at your whole physiology. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous for the patient because the knee bone is connected to the hip bone, right? Just like in that game Operation.
So Donna, this is all, it's beautiful. I love the way you use nature as a symbolic canvas, really, for accounting and for budgeting and for our financial health, and it's all related. It's so beautiful. What I love, there's just so many aspects of you that this would take days, but what I think is so inspirational about your story and where you are today is that you did it your way. You had a purpose. And, This book to me was a romance. It was romantic how you went out on the road with your boyfriend, who's been your partner throughout life, right? How isn't that true?
Well, well, the actually the he my I hired my husband, the first boyfriend who started the restaurant with me. We'll have to backtrack here. Anyway, he was a great guy, but he just he didn't have the chutzpah or whatever enough to. I wanted to stay in Homer, Alaska, and then my husband came looking for a job, and I hired him. And that's a stories
Oh,
in the book, and it is very a romantic story. So yes,
yes.
if you're looking for a romance novel, you won't find it in this, but it is very sweet. How we have managed to me being the alpha in the family and the male female dominance and the female male dominance or whatever way you want to look at it,
Yeah.
and looking at it where hey, just because you're an alpha doesn't mean you dominate. It just means that's your role in certain things. I just have a real mental capacity for finances and numbers, and remember I'm dyslexic, but I do it more like I say. I'm a nature counter instead of a bean counter. You know that expression. Like
Yeah.
I get the wisdom, the download,
But
because
what I also love about this is that you created a bread business. And didn't you do that like out of a truck or how?
yes,
Remind me. I mean, you had kind of you went with nothing and you
yes.
started a business from baking bread and you took that bread door to door. Tell us how this entrepreneurial spirit and hippie chick out in the wilderness made her living.
Okay, so in a nutshell, really quick, because it is a beautiful, kick in the ass story for anybody who's sitting on the fence about doing something. But I was 24, and my boyfriend at the time, and I were running an organic farm, and I was finishing my degree. I graduated from the organic farm program at Evergreen State College in 1982, and I had gone to three different universities. It took me 6 years to get my father called up my sheepskin. And we were living on this organic farm that we created from nothing. And we were kicking butt. We did great. We were also baking sourdough bread out of my house. This story is in the books. I mean, it's a lot. So anyway, but we would bake bread the day before we harvest all the produce, and we would set up our table at the farmers market, and I'd have these beautiful baskets of bread and garlic buttered rolls and the garlic and the herb buttered rolls. Everything I grew on my farm to make whip the butter, and then I'd have the radishes, the cucumbers, the flowers,
We're all
everything.
getting
I had
hungry.
the prettiest booth at the farmers market, and I learned about marketing and beauty and all on my own, right? And so we were the busiest booth at the market. Everybody lined up to get the bread and the buttered rolls. It was like a loss leader almost. And then we would sell out the flowers, sell out the bundles of herbs, sell out the produce, go home, and I'd call my dad, and I wouldn't need to borrow any money to get through college, right? I was
Yeah.
making my own money my own way.
Wow. Isn't that
And
crazy?
then we knew that we didn't want to live in Olympia forever. Oh, it was too rainy and cold. My boyfriend bought this old laundry truck and converted it into a camper. We brought our little propane oven with us in the back of the van, and he built a trailer to go, and we put the oven in the back of the trailer, and we left in, we thought it was springtime. It was April to go to, I really always wanted to go see Alaska. And before we moved back to the East Coast, because both our families were on the East Coast, we thought we were going to move to Maine and be like Helen and Scott Nearing and do the Good Life. I don't know if you've read that book. They were some real back to the lander, impressive couple from the city that moved to the camp. They were inspiration for us.
Cool.
And so we got into this van, and we had it filled with flour and everything we needed to make sourdough bread along the way.
And did you end up living in the van in Alaska?
We did for a while. We ended up we broke down several times getting to Alaska, so we had no money, and we had to bake. We had to pull over in blizzards, because in April we didn't realize in Canada and into Alaska it's still winter. So we were like baking bread in the snow. It was just insane. If my parents knew where I was, because they didn't at the time until I got to Alaska, they would have had the posse out after us.
Right.
And John arrested. But anyway, that was my boyfriend, and we made it, and we made it to.
You did it. You did it. Sounds like an amazing adventure. An entrepreneurial adventure and holistic. The whole book to me is conscious living. All of it, adventure. And I love adventure, and I love travel, and I love the earth, etc. So we have a lot of that in common. Tell me about your meditation. I know you're a meditator, and it sounds like you meditated and then maybe you stepped away from it for a while and then you returned to it.
Yeah. Well, that's really so great because, again, the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to our true nature. If we have a chance after this, I'll take you out and show you where I'm at. It's very windy, but yeah, I started getting into yoga and meditation when I was in my early 20s, and stepped away from it because I went national with the chocolate company. I had my restaurant. The first organic cocoa and chocolate company, Alaska. Some of you might have had.
That's right. Chocolate and bread. What else is there? Go ahead.
Right? A little butter, little ice cream, then you're all set. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I most recently though, this past year I've gotten really much more into meditation than I ever have before, and pranayama, and especially mantra. I'm singing all the time, mantras. I listen to Insight Timer. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I don't make any money to promote Insight Timer, but man, I have some teachers on Insight Timer, and I just love that app. And I am probably the biggest user on their app. I play mantra music all day. I used to play like Joni Mitchell and Carole King and Bob Dylan. I still do once in a while. The old folk are that really good, more revolutionary Joan Baez music. I love it.
Sure.
But I'm very, very into being here in the moment and being mindful more than ever.
Awesome.
Having health issues will do that to you. This time last year, I started really losing my oomphta. And I started writing, I told you, a new book called Death, What Is It Good For? Absolutely Something, which I am going to finish eventually. It's almost done. I just need to edit it. And
so let me just interrupt. So I love the title of your book. And for some of the younger generation, you may not know that reference is based off of an old song called War. Who? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. So this is. So you're using that, and this is called Death. What is it good for? Absolutely something.
Yes.
And this is the book you're writing now.
Well, I already wrote the book, and but like, as you know, you have a second book coming out, and it's sitting at the editors. It's with the editor right now.
Yeah.
Before I edit, the book is all written. I just have gotten, I don't want to say lazy, but I got sidetracked on another project. When I got really sick, I didn't want to go back into finishing that first edit. I started. And it's a lot of work, people, if you haven't written a book and you really want to write a good book and use your own words and make it impactful and change people's lives. And the editing is like critical. And
important.
And being dyslexic, I kind of, the way I write is not, I don't write like chapter 1, chapter 2. I write what I feel, and then you have to put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And so I'm on the jigsaw puzzle, like, wow, I wrote all the key things. Now I need to just put it together and then get it edited for grammars. But I started a new book because I was wanting to get healthy, right? And this is so important for everybody to hear this, like how something like this can help you heal. So I wanted to focus on not death, what is it good for, but what I loved. And I swear, so I started this line of book called I Love. I love flowers, everything I love in nature. I love trees. I love sunsets. I love seascapes. I love clouds. Anyway, so I'm categorizing thousands of photos. And through those photos, just finding the best ones. Could you imagine just looking through thousands of beautiful things all day?
Sounds
You're
wonderful.
Looking at flowers.
Picture books. I love it.
And poetry. And I'm writing poetry.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. So this is a whole series you're working on?
Yeah, it's a whole series and
How
it's really coming
exciting.
together. And here's something that's super cool. I got to share this with you guys. I want to go grab them right now. But so we had this restaurant in Alaska, right, for 38 years. Like I said, we started out of a van and then it ended up becoming a very, very successful business called the Fresh Sourdough Express in Homer, Alaska. And the pandemic and everything, well, it's no longer there. But we still own the building and we're getting ready to sell it. And my husband was up there recently, like 2 weeks ago, came home and he was cleaning out this shed there and he brought a pile of my of journals, right, that I had since I'm
Oh,
12 years old.
oh my.
And I didn't really write past 27, 28 because I was so busy with all my businesses and then having our son when I, whoa, my son, sorry, light flipped. And and so I'm reading these journals, and my husband's actually reading them out loud. And he's saying, "Oh my God, you have not changed at all." It's like, and I was writing poetry back then. I was really
Yeah.
into nature. I was
Mm.
loving, and it just because what happens, I think, to everybody, and I'm sure anybody can relate to this who's listening to this is sometimes like we kind of lose ourselves for maybe 10 years, 15
Yes,
years.
we
We have
do. It's
one kid,
maturity.
two kids, right? We're
Yeah.
just trying to balance our bank account. We're caught up in our people dying, family things taking us off our center. And it's that mindfulness that brings us back. Like, who are we? What do we love to do? What is our purposeful why? Why am I not cutting my hair? Having
Right.
these core principle things, you can always come back to that, like reading these journals. Back when I was 13, 14, 15, I knew I was different, right? I said it right there in my book. How come I don't fit in here, but I fit in everywhere? Because I loved everyone. I
Mm.
wasn't one of those cliquey kids. I got invited to all the parties, not just those parties, and then that got exhausting because you're going to too many parties. But that's a good thing. But also can be a bad thing, like just trying to figure out where is your place in life that you operate the best. But that's where that diversity comes in for me. I
Yeah.
did operate the best, and I still operate the best here in my community now. I am a Haole. I'm a minority here in Hawaii, and I love all the different people, all the different cultures, all of the diversity. I think it's what made me whole back then, popular and loving and kind. And those are all those things that were just so rooted in my core being when I was young. And that when I bring that into my meditation, when I bring that into my um, why am I here? Why are you here? And and it's like, don't even have to answer the question. The question is a knowing that you don't have to tell somebody why, but that it's that knowing for yourself. It's the knowing. You don't even have to question yourself when you know who you are,
Mm.
when you know what you love to do, when you have this purposeful.
Yeah. So I
It's
would,
it's that
I
knowing.
think, yeah. Well, and I think that's very important. And some people might say, well, how do you know? And I'd like to suggest when you feel alive, right? So
Mhm.
I would imagine that being adventurous makes you feel alive, right? Your story is very adventurous, and I would say the same for me.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? What makes you laugh? What makes you feel like you have more vitality? And
Yeah.
these are some of the ways you know that you're stepping into your true nature and you're being yourself. But sometimes we're reaching out for something that's, really far fetched, which could be okay. But sometimes it's as simple as, my purpose in life is to make other people laugh and smile. And how do you do that? It might be depending on what you want to do. I just remember this all the time. Donna, I worked in an office for a period of time, and there was a UPS delivery guy, and he'd walk in the happiest smile, sometimes whistling, and he knew everybody's name. And I asked him one day, I said, how is it that you are just the happiest guy I don't know, and yet I know, right? You know everybody's name, etc. And he said, well, every day every day is a great day. I'm so glad to be alive, and why not be happy? So he spreads his joy by taking that extra measure of knowing everybody's name. And
Yeah.
so I imagine that looks like it's very fulfilling to him. So what fulfills you? Yeah,
Yeah.
and to be creative, and to just to feel that aliveness, that spark in your heart.
No, I love that story about the UPS guy. I have one of those delivery young men right now, and he was. I have these four really big dogs, and my old delivery guy was the most jovial guy in the world, and this guy and he brings biscuits for the dogs and everything. So, but
Yeah.
this new young guy, he doesn't doesn't have that yet, but because his predecessor, I shared to me, said, look, you're going to love what you do a whole lot more if you carry milk bones in your pockets, and if you bring your smile to all your customers. And now he's turning into the nicest guy, nicest young guy. But sometimes us older gals or older guys, whoever, we I didn't do it in like an East Coast, because I'm from the East Coast, calling out, I'm calling
Yeah.
you out. Yeah. I did it in like a suggestion, a way for you to, like, because this is what you're doing now. You love what you're doing, right? Or do something different. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people all the time. If people are in a job or a situation or a marriage or a relationship, when I'm coaching a client, it's if that's what's the core thing that's making them happy. I mean, they're just doors, and that's what they're made to walk in and out of. And there's nothing wrong with changing our lives, and at any time. I mean, nature does,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, good
and
point. Nature, nature can absolutely change. Yeah.
nothing is constant in nature except change. And I
Mm.
think we get ourselves too boxed in, and then life gets mundane for a lot of people, and it's very rare to find a UPS guy, right? And unless and here's a real good thing that I learned a long time ago from an incredible elder woman. And I say elder, she was probably younger than I am now, but I was in my early 20s, and she said to me, Donna, it's always a great choice when you make a choice. And because you make a choice means you can make another choice. So if it doesn't end up being the right choice, you don't beat yourself up about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Make
Right.
another choice.
I
You know,
love
don't
that.
don't want to, don't need to. You don't have to, you don't got to. This is all in my book too. These certain phrases that we say, and there's five of them: need to, got to, have to, want to, and should. Those
Right.
five things, eliminate them from your vocabulary, and then
Yeah.
replace it with choosing. I have chosen, it's my choice to change.
You,
And
you
then,
know,
wow,
yeah.
bingo.
And that's what reminds me again of this book. This is the most recent one that you have published, right?
Actually, I have a journal that came out,
Oh, okay.
and Conscious Cures.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this one resonates with me. And not only does it have the memoir, but there are lessons. Like it's
Yes.
earmarked, I've underlined. And so you share your wisdom, and there's always some kind of um, lesson in there. And
Yeah.
you, as a, you know, editing your book, if you're your own editor, you back up everything with knowledge. You take, your love for nature and your free spirit, entrepreneurial, business savvy, and you bring it all together, and you have logical reasoning with everything. And
Uh,
so it's so much fun. It's like this wild adventure with with, like you said, with this financial guru telling you how to do it along the way.
That's right. Well, I so appreciate you breathing fresh air into this book. It was a labor of love, and you're so right on with what you said right there, because I kind of wrote it in three voices, and you'll notice in there's some gray sections, 6 of them. If you put the book sideways, you can show everybody the book sideways, or I could show the book. Yeah, see the gray sections. Those are like 4 or 5 pages each, with, like what you said, Alana, where I talk about what was happening in each evolution of my life. So if you look, I wrote the book in 13 cycles rather than chapters, because I honor the cycles of a tree or nature, how it goes from seed to sprout all the way up to canopy. So
That's
there's
so
nature
cool.
metaphors all the way. So they're not chapters, they're cycles. And then I have the 6 evolutions based on, I was born in 57, so I look at the 50s and 60s, 60s and 70s, 70s. So I look at the different decades and broken into evolutions till the 60s, right? So there's 6 evolutions. And so in those gray sections, I talk about, okay, well, when I was in grade school, it was the assassination era. John F. Kennedy was murdered. His brother was murdered. Martin Luther King, the guy who founded the Black Panthers. I talk about the history, and here you are, you're a little kid. Your mom picks you up from school, and she's crying because the president was just assassinated, and you're in 4th grade or 3rd grade, and you're like, oh, that sounds bad, but you don't really understand it. But you get it it's in you. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about these memories. The time, just so throughout the book, the different wars, the different things that were going on, the Vietnam War, and friends getting drafted and friends dying, and just like all these things going on. And meanwhile, you're going to school, you're having sex for the first time, and you get grounded, and then all of this, AIDS comes on, and
Right.
and it's all the
Yeah, it's
same
all of it.
going on right now with you and me. I mean, what's happening in Palestine,
All of
the
it.
Palestinians is really conflict. All look who's running for president. Oh my God, what are we? So it all affects us. Getting back to this whole place of mindfulness.
Right.
I have been on a media fast for almost a year now. April 1st will earmark a year, and the best thing I've ever done. I mean, I am detoxed out, and it feels great. I can't even get into a car and I don't even care if it's NPR, which I still am a paying member. I don't listen to any media whatsoever except, the sound of the wind and mantras. And it's not that I don't know what's going on. I think I know what's going on more than most, because I feel it energetically. And every once in a while, I'll have a conversation, and I'll get up to speed on something.
Yeah.
But it's really hard being human and being sensitive and not to sense the suffering and to feel it.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
be bombarded by it is not. It's like
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate that, and it's a reminder to protect ourselves energetically from negative stimuli, and to surround yourself as much as possible with positive, which is what this is all about, is to create abundant health, wealth, and happiness in your life. And that it's so important that all of them, it's not just about being wealthy financially or healthy physically. It's about your emotional health. And what I'm hearing is, it's detoxing from the negativity that goes on in the world, that always has and always will, and to, maintain that equilibrium as that's all happening, and being in touch with nature, just getting your feet in the soil, planting, gardening. So we just have a few more minutes, but you're in Hawaii now, right?
Yes.
And any last few words you want to share about your world today?
Yeah, my world today is just blissful. Ananda means bliss in Sanskrit, And it's one of the mantras I sing over and over. I just think that, I do better being warm all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're okay, I'll just take my computer and I'll show you where I am. And if any of you guys want to come, we have a beautiful farmstead vacation rental in Tella. She found us on this amazing show with this incredible woman, Alana. Thank you so much for this opportunity. But I have 4 big dogs. You're going to hear the wind for a minute.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
My husband's out
Just-
there harvesting.
It's gorgeous. In case for any reason we lose you, I do want to let everyone know that Donna is offering a generous gift of her a free course called From Burnout to Bliss. And just check out the notes, the show notes, and you can go to her website and download it and just mention that she was on, you heard about it here on Creating Abundance. And then please go donnamaltz.com. And your podcast is Refresh My Memory. I think it's a dose of positivity.
Yes, very good. Good memory.
Excellent. And are you still offering that? Right?
Yeah, I would love to mention that really quick because you were one of my favorite guests. So I'm not sure what episode. I think it was 170 or 65 or 70.
Yeah.
And it's a dose of positivity, and I interview beautiful people like you, and bringing out the best in the work, and everything's about just how can you turn everything positive, right? And even I've interviewed everybody from death doulas to meditation specialists. Next week I'm interviewing, or this Thursday, a trigger therapist, and I'm a blogger, and so I write these blogs, and it's so interesting how each person just brings so much uniqueness to each show, and you're noticing that too, such beautiful, and you are such a gift to the world. I just absolutely love your book. Your book inspired me like crazy, great. And, let's continue to spread all this love and positivity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Donna. And so, yes, come back, listen, follow, and spread the wealth, health, and happiness to everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Big, big love and aloha. Thank you so much.
Aloha. Thank you for listening to Creating Abundance. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next podcast and get your free ebook at alanacahoon.com/ebook.